So I'm going to do the grain because I think that's one of the big missing things for now. So obviously this is a digital plate, so we don't have grain, we have noise. And those ARRI cameras are usually quite great. The noise is not that pronounced. It's way lower than what we have on film on the Blue Channel, for example. But we still want to match it. So a couple of things we can do. First, we're going to start generating a grain node. You might find different techniques to create a grain node. This one is one of the simplest. It uses the default grain from Nuke. And I'm going to try to set it up properly. So one thing I like to do, and it was taught to me by a very good friend of mine, a compositor I met a couple of years back. You can use a checkerboard to help you set up your grain. Before that, I was usually just comparing with a wipe, but actually checkerboard is a very smart way to compare. So I will set up my checkerboard so that the values in the red channel are 0 and 1 only. I don't care too much about the others. All I want is this checkerboard, which is quite appropriate for a race car. Now, if I go here and I create a keymix, I'm going to keymix between the extra grain map and the plate with extra grain and the grain which has nothing. Actually, I'm going to put it directly on the plate. There we go. And as an alpha for the keymix, I will use the red channel of my checkerboard. So what happens now is that I have the grain happening only on those every other square, basically. The other thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to try to denoise a bit this plate, but just on the side of the just on the side of there we go. There we go. Just on the side of the grain. This one doesn't need to be super precise. It can be a broad stroke, let's say. It's a way for us to remove the grain from the plate so that when we apply the grain, the CG grain, it is actually the only thing affecting the grain when we compare. Now what I can do is that I can start seeing that my grain is way too strong, and we can also see that per channel we have different shapes, and we can compare with different level of brightness when it's in the light, when it's in the darkness. We can see that in the darkness we are a bit closer in terms of grain than when we are in the bright areas. So I'm going to try playing a bit with the grain here, and my role will be to try and make sure that I don't see any more the transition between those elements. And this work I can do per channel. So the first thing is, I think the size is a bit too big. So let me start reducing the red. Right. Okay, this feels a bit small now, a bit too noisy in a way. So let me red channel, let's reduce the intensity straight away because for now it's a bit too confusing. Right. Okay, that's not too bad actually. I'm starting to not see much of the transition. At some point, if you lose sight, if you don't really know anymore where the transition is, you're on a good track. All right, so let's see. Okay, one thing I would like to do is probably change a tiny bit the values here because I want right, let's see. So it's a bit too strong now. You know what? It probably needs to be a bit higher. Okay, I'm not touching too much the values here. Alright. Okay, let's leave it at here for now. I will probably need to come back a bit later, but we'll see. Red and irregularity. which is always kind of an odd one. I'm never sure what it does, but regardless, we can start affecting the values. One more thing, actually, which I should have mentioned earlier, it's actually a good idea to do your modifications in linear or row without any viewing LUT, just to make sure that your channels are not feeding each other. Like sometimes with certain LUTs, when you're watching the red channel, you're actually also being fed some of the green and some of the blue, meaning that when you create your grain, you might not be reviewing the right thing. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Usually I start from the same values for the green, and that's not too bad. I prefer when it's a bit smaller. Yeah, green, I'll leave it here, and green, let's see. Right. So the idea here again is to have a sense that we are not too far away from the mark. I'm thinking that might be okay. We're still a bit too strong, most likely. Right, but it's not necessarily a bad thing either. Sometimes, depending on what the element you are compositing, it's okay to go just a hint too strong. If your element is very dark, for example, it's not too much of an issue if your bright values of the grain are too strong, because you won't get as many bright values on the element you are comping. Right, and intensity of the blue, let me go back up right there. There we go. Let's see, it's a bit too strong here. All right, starting to get there. And it's a bit too big also. All right, let's reduce the intensity a bit more. Okay, let's say I'm satisfied with that for now. Now I'm going to start looking at it again, but in the actual LUT. I want to see in context how it looks. So the idea is that now that I set up my grain, I will just remove the denoise and I will apply the grain to my plate. But in the alpha, I don't want obviously to double the grain on the plate. So in the alpha, I should be using the alpha of my element. My element could be this one, just the car. However, this would not allow me to have a bit of shadows in these, which have been flattened out quite strongly. So what I will do is just that I will remove. Actually, I should not remove it here. I will remove the alpha from the plate up there. So this is before I apply the shadows. I will remove the alpha by setting the alpha to black. And now for every one of those mix, I will just create a small merge. There we go. And I will merge, but just the alpha. This way, every time I'm just merging, adding the mask of the alpha on top of my plate. And that just will accumulate and give me an exact, let's see, I can use this one too. Well, this one is probably a duplication because I'm already using the alpha in both cases, the same alpha. So I'm going to maybe do it I'm going to do it at least for the occlusion. So same thing, removing those, just keeping the alpha. All right, my values are still good. That's nice. I have at the alpha of the shadows here, and I'm adding at this point the alpha of the car. And now when I can apply the grain using the alpha as the input. And now, hopefully, if I did my job properly. All right, so that's input 1, that's input 2. All right, and it's very faint. You barely can see it with, I'm sure, on your video, but this is without the grain and this is with. So we are adding a bit of this grain there. I think it's still a bit too low. We can probably go a touch stronger And some of those, especially when we compare to those dark values here on the road and how low the grain is here. So let me run back here just a second and see if we can go a bit further. So I'm going to add just a touch of green and a bit of red, right? Let's say that. And you know what, even the blue can probably be just a touch stronger. This is a bit too strong here, but you know what, I actually like when it's a bit grainy. It's a matter of overselling it, but it tends to stamp the CGI on top of your plate. So that's something I actually enjoy. All right. So in this lesson, we've continued grading a bit the car using different techniques, which you have full control of. We have used the position path to grade a specific area of the car. We have created a bit of defocusing, softness to match the car to the rest of the plate. We have added grain, chromatic aberration. That's already quite substantial. So I'm going to make a quick pause, and I will see you next for a bit more refinements, and then we'll talk about how to make the car pop a bit more, just to make the car more visually interesting. And that will require from us to create mattes. And you'll see where we get. All right, cheers.